Welcome, my friends. Today we dive into the thrilling story of Alexander the Great, a boy whispered to be destined for greatness, a warrior who tamed the untamable, a king who conquered the world before the age of 32. The night was dark, the air thick with tension. Deep within the palace of Pella, Queen Olympias gave birth to a child who would one day shake the world. The boy was named Alexander. From the moment he could walk, his mother whispered in his ear, "You are destined for greatness." His father, King Philip II of Macedonia, ruled with strength and ambition, but even he knew that his son was something different, something more. Alexander was not an ordinary child. He had the mind of a scholar and the spirit of a warrior. At the age of 13, he was sent to study under Aristotle, the greatest philosopher of his time. Alexander was not an ordinary child. He had the mind of a scholar and the spirit of a warrior. At the age of 13, he was sent to study under Aristotle, the greatest philosopher of his time. One day, a wild, untamable horse named Bucephalus was brought before King Philip. No one could control it. The horse reared, kicked, and refused to be ridden. The king was about to send it away when Alexander stepped forward. With calm confidence, he whispered to the beast, turned it toward the sun so it could no longer see its shadow, and mounted it with ease. The crowd gasped. His father, with pride in his eyes, declared, "My son, you must find a kingdom big enough for your ambition. Macedonia is too small for you." At the age of 20, tragedy struck. King Philip was assassinated, and the young prince was suddenly king. The court was filled with enemies, men who wanted power for themselves. But Alexander was not one to be outwitted. In one swift and decisive move, he eliminated his rivals and secured the throne. His first target, the mighty Persian Empire. Led by King Darius III, Persia was the most powerful empire in the world. Many believed Alexander was foolish to challenge such a force. But Alexander did not listen to doubters. He gathered his army, a mere 35,000 men against Persia's hundreds of thousands, and crossed into Asia. At the Battle of Granicus, his forces clashed with the Persians. Swords clanged, arrows flew, and men screamed. Alexander, at the front lines, led the charge. His strategy was brilliant, using speed and surprise to overwhelm his enemies. Victory was his, but this was just the beginning. Darius III, now desperate, gathered an army of over 250,000 men to stop Alexander. The battlefield was set at Gaugamela, a vast plain where the Persians could use their numbers to their advantage. Alexander's men were outnumbered 5-1. The night before the battle, his generals were nervous. "We should attack under cover of darkness," they advised. But Alexander only smiled. "I will not steal my victory. I will take it openly in the light of day." At dawn, he rode out, leading his men into battle. The Persian army swarmed like an ocean, but Alexander was like a storm. He found the weakest point in their formation and struck with precision. His elite cavalry, the companion cavalry, followed him, cutting through the enemy like a blade through cloth. The Persians, confused and terrified, began to flee. Darius, watching from a distance, saw his men falling apart. Fear took hold of him. He turned his chariot and ran. His empire was now Alexander's. With Darius defeated, Alexander marched to the Persian capital, Persepolis. It was a city of incredible wealth, with golden palaces and towering columns. The Persian people feared what was coming. Alexander stood before the great halls of Persepolis and thought about the countless Greek cities Persia had burned in the past. He made a decision. That night, flames erupted, and the grand city was reduced to ashes. Some say it was revenge. Others believe it was a moment of rage. Either way, Persia's reign was over. Though defeated, Darius still lived. He had fled, hoping to regroup, but his own men betrayed him. When Alexander finally found him, Darius was lying on the ground, bleeding from multiple wounds. He had been stabbed by his own generals. As Alexander knelt beside his enemy, he whispered, "You were a great king." He covered Darius with his cloak and gave him a burial fit for a ruler. Even in victory, Alexander showed respect. But Alexander was not done. His hunger for conquest grew. He turned his army eastward, marching into India, where he faced King Porus, a warrior who ruled with war elephants. The Battle of the Hydaspes was brutal. The elephants charged, crushing men underfoot, but Alexander's tactics won the day. Yet, for the first time, his men were exhausted. They had marched for years, fought countless battles, and traveled thousands of miles. "Take us home, Alexander," they pleaded. He listened. The return to Babylon was long and grueling. Along the way, Alexander's closest friend and general, Hephaestion, died suddenly. The king, usually unstoppable, was shattered. He wept for days, refusing food. His heart had been wounded in a way that no army could heal. Not long after, at the age of 32, Alexander himself fell ill. Some say he was poisoned. Others believe it was a fever from the long campaign. He lay in his palace, weak but still determined. His generals gathered around him. "Who will rule your empire?" they asked. With a faint smile, he whispered, "To the strongest." And with that, the greatest conqueror in history took his final breath. Alexander had built one of the largest empires the world had ever seen, stretching from Greece to Egypt, Persia to India. But he had left no clear successor. His empire was soon divided among his generals, who fought over the pieces like hungry wolves. Yet, Alexander's legacy was not just in land. He spread Greek culture, language, and knowledge across the world, shaping civilizations for centuries to come. Cities named after him, like Alexandria in Egypt, became centers of learning and power. His tactics are still studied in military academies today. Even after 2,000 years, Alexander the Great remains a name spoken with awe. He was not just a king, not just a warrior, he was a legend. And legends, as we know, never truly die.